What is going on, everyone? This is Ninja Geek here, and this week we're going to be reviewing Here's Not Here, the episode 4 of Season 6 for The Walking Dead. Going to be getting right into it with this 90-minute episode. At first, when I heard it was a 90-minute episode a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh boy, what's going to happen now? Because 90 minutes, usually they only do that from the beginning or the ends of the episode. It's not in the middle, never has it been in the middle for the series, but like characters dying and likewise within the show, anything is possible within this show that we already know. Anything could happen at any time, so I guess throwing in a 90-minute episode doesn't hurt to change the pace a little bit. But anyway, so the first thing that I actually didn't notice, but I actually looked up, because obviously it's interesting to look up different facts and stuff before doing the reviews and sort of like that, and not even just for the reviews, just for informational knowledge on yourself, is that I'm going to play these two clips here overlaying on the screen right now. Last week's episode and the weeks before that, Steven Yeun, or Glenn, obviously that's his real name, his name was actually in the opening credits, obviously, because they give credit to the main characters. Well, in this episode, his name just wasn't there, as you can see. I don't know what this is supposed to mean, if they just, because, okay, if you don't know, obviously, what happened with Glenn last time, you should know. I mean, it's major news now, there's no spoilers on that, but he wasn't in the Walking Dead or Talking Dead memorial afterwards, so we know that. I believe he's still alive somewhere. Obviously he is. It's just the way that they went on it. They would never kill a character like that, even no matter how much the show vastly changes. They would never do that with the way that they shot it and just leave it be. But I think what they did with in the beginning of this episode, that the fact that they left Glenn out of it, Glenn's name, is just because, they want to keep it secretive as to what happens until we get on later in the episode. So I heard about that and I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. I was like, I don't know if I believe that one. And then I looked and actually watched it again and I was like, oh, I guess it's true. They did remove the name. So yeah, just little things. You probably wouldn't have noticed it. I sure as hell didn't notice it when the episode came on, but I thought that was pretty clear. Speaking of clear, I don't know why I just said clear. We start off the episode, of course, with Morgan. This whole episode was a Morgan flashback, which was amazing because we get to find out what happens after episode Clear in season 3, which that's why I said speaking of clear. I didn't even mean for that to make sense or anything, but we start off with episode Clear, and, which I believe it was episode 12, called Clear. I think it was the 12th one. And, so we start off sort of from there, and we get into more of what he does after that and how he meets Eastman. But, so it starts off, obviously, with him after Rick probably saw him, so it was like there, and then it kind of jumps ahead. And his whole thought process throughout there is to clear everything out, people, like everything that gets in his way. That's how he goes about living his days now, because he's lost his son Dwayne and his wife. So, this man has just been through a total lot, and he's all by himself now, so his mental state is just completely gone, and we could even see that because there are scenes within here where I'm not entirely sure on what the effect is. I tried to, look it up and stuff. I don't know the exact name for the effect, but as you can see, and I'm going to play a clip soon about it, that the effect they put on Morgan to make it sort of a delusional effect, if you will, because, so his delusional state going through his mental state and how he's acting, the screen sides of it actually fade, or I don't know the correct term for it. It looks like he's like a side edge effect of a cutting, soft edge effect, where the sides aren't completely there, so it's like his mind isn't completely there, and I like the way that they use that effect within his shots of the film, so you can see that that's clearly how his mind is acting and how his total comes to be. I mean, we even know that he likes to specify clear, as in clear everything out, because before he actually meets Eastman, he meets two random strangers in the woods and just instantly kills them just to survive, and that was his thought process before, as we can see. But he's a changed man by the end of this episode, and the whole reason why, because before, in the other episodes when Carol's going about killing every single wolf, Morgan's just sitting there like, we don't have to kill anyone, and everyone's like, why don't you want to kill anyone? And we didn't actually know what that was all about until obviously this episode, which helped us understand. And I like these type of episodes where there's a lot of interpretation going on and things like that. So here I'm actually going to play the scene which happened actually right before the commercial, where so he meets Eastman, he meets Tabitha, his goat, and they kind of develop some sort. They don't really start off developing a friendship together, but they start talking as time goes by, as he's locked in this random cell that he just happened to have in this cabin. And Eastman basically says, "Okay, you can go, and I didn't lock you in here. There's no key for it. You can just go whenever you want." And before he cuts the commercial, Morgan walks out. He has a choice to either stay with Eastman or go. There's not going to be any killing involved. And Morgan instantly, he walks out like everything's fine, and then instantly he just rushes out and charges at Eastman. This scene actually sort of scared me. I mean, The Walking Dead isn't really like a sort of terrifying series, if you will, like meaning like, okay, yeah, the whole theme of it is, but I'm not saying like, I'm talking about like jump scare-ish. I didn't even expect that was even going to happen, and the music and the thing came out at the right time, that when this happened, I was just like, whatever. And then it instantly went to a commercial, but along the way, afterwards, we find out, of course, that Morgan learns the art of peace from Eastman and how he uses his so-called bow staff. Apparently, that stick that he was using, I just called it a stick because I had no clue. I'm not an expert in that stuff. He is actually called a bow staff that, Eastman gives him his own, and they start to practice the art of peace, which kind of shapes Morgan, not at first though, it kind of shapes Morgan into the man that he became after Eastman died, but we'll get into that later. But another interesting thing is that they dragged on about the scene where Morgan was eating with Eastman, like at one of the nighttime scenes, and Eastman is explaining his job and what he used to do, and how there was this guy that was just so mental, like he had to interview a bunch of people, like mental people, and this one guy was just so mental that he killed Eastman's entire family, and Eastman never recovered from that, so he actually wanted to hurt this guy. And what ended up happening was he put him in his cell for 47 days, I believe that was the number, and he let him starve to death and die. And then after that, Eastman made a promise to himself to never kill anyone again, because all life is precious. And that's his motto. So you think of Morgan's motto is clear, just clear out everything, completely different from Eastman's, where it's just all life is precious. And by the end of the episode, Morgan, after Eastman dies, of course, and Eastman tries to teach Morgan his ways, Morgan finally sees to the other side and says, okay, this is how it should be, how all life is precious. And that's what ends up happening, and that's the whole reason, like I said before, about why Eastman can teach Morgan and how this whole friendship became to be with them. But unfortunately, of course, when they were practicing, Morgan sees the walker that he killed before, the human that actually was in the beginning of the episode that he cleared out, technically, and so he didn't, I don't know, I think his mind was going mental again there, and Eastman ends up getting bitten, and of course that's how Eastman ends up dying. And throughout this whole thing about Eastman trying to teach him about the art of peace and the whole, like, style of how this goes along, he just wants to end his life, basically. He just keeps saying, kill me, kill me, kill me, like he just doesn't want to live. He just doesn't understand. And then obviously by the end, he's talking to the wolf that attacked Alexandria, number one, but the one that he found before way back in season 5. So he's talking to him. He told him this entire story, and that was the whole plot basis. He was just talking to him for the past time. And then at the end, something weird happens. Like, at first I didn't understand until I saw the sneak peek of next week's episode where Morgan just walks out, he locks the wolf in that room, and we don't really know what's going to happen as of that particular moment, but then, Morgan goes outside, and then you just hear from a faint distance, open the gate, and it sounds exactly like Rick. So either Rick made it out somehow of the RV, or he drove, or he got it to work, or something along those lines, or maybe that's just a foreshadowing event to a different time later on, because it seemed, I don't know, but obviously we're going to have to see what happens next week. And that is it for this week's review. My favorite part about this, like I said before, was the delusional scenes of how the effect of how they chose to show that, because they could have done it a lot of ways. They could have shot it from different angles, but the way that they did it really showed how mental Morgan's mind was, that he was just completely lost since he had nobody left, and his whole motto completely changed from beginning to end of the episode. So that's it. Leave a like if you did enjoy, and subscribe for more content. It was a nice episode to kind of even out the playing ground, to bring us back a little bit after what happened last week. And my question for this week is, comparing Morgan to Rick, who has changed more over the course of Season 1 through Season 6, obviously, about this? I know this was a question on Talking Dead, but I just want to hear everyone else's thoughts on this, because obviously Morgan's changed a lot, but in my personal opinion, I think that Rick has just expanded more since we've probably seen more screen time with him. But anyways, that's the end of this episode. I'll see you on next week's episode, as well as other things coming. We've got a very special something else coming for my next upload, and then of course Black Ops 3 is releasing, and we're just going to have fun with everything coming out for this holiday season. So I'll see you whatever my next video happens to be. I'm Ninja Geek. I'm out. Peace.